Stay connected as we discuss shared passions and firsthand experiences intended to enlighten, entertain, and encourage you to try new things. This is not a how-to, this is a why you should. Welcome to the You Should podcast.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the You Should cast. However you're watching or listening, we truly appreciate it. Make sure you follow us on our YouTube page. Subscribe to all of our social media platforms at You Should cast. All right, Mike, who do we have on tap for tonight?
This week's guest is a man whose life could be the plot of an epic adventure story, filled with humor, hard work, and a love for the great outdoors. Whether he's cracking a joke or sharing cold Coors Light with friends, you'll find him living his life with passion. A family man, happily married with 2 wonderful daughters, a DIY enthusiast at heart, having amassed an impressive tool collection over the years, proving that he is prepared for all projects big and small. When he's not building or fixing something, you may find him dominating the pickleball court, where his competitive spirit and sharp sense of humor make him a formidable opponent. His love for the outdoors is unshakable, and he's never far from a new adventure. Whether he's mountain biking or snowboarding or simply enjoying the beauty of nature, his time spent working as a commercial fisherman in Alaska only added to his already rich story of resilience and versatility. He truly embodies what it means to strive to live a life that's anything but ordinary. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. James Vogel.
Oh, wow. Thank you guys so much.
Have you ever had an intro like that?
I don't know. That's a lead-in. You put that on my LinkedIn page or something?
We're so excited for tonight's episode because I feel like so many people, Alaska is such a faraway place, and I see the cruise ships and this, that, but I really don't know anything about Alaska. So to start your story, how did you get to Alaska, and like how did that come about in your life?
Yeah, I wasn't born there. So my parents got divorced, and then my dad had wanted to go to Alaska, so he went to Alaska, and I guess it was like 1982 when he finally made the move up there. So, I stayed back in Missouri with my brother, went to school, and then my brother was graduating in 1993. He was graduating from high school, and he was going to go up there, and I wasn't going to be deterred and not go too. So that was my freshman year in high school. So he went up there. I went up there a couple of days after he graduated high school. We just kind of picked up and left.
Wow.
So that was the start of an adventure. Didn't really know. I mean, obviously, you think about it, 1993, there wasn't a whole lot of like content of what I was getting myself into or how we were going to get there. And we had spent some time trying to figure out how we were going to get there.
What did you think of Alaska at that time? Because your dad had been up there for about 10 years, right? 10, 11 years. And just over that time, what were you expecting Alaska was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it was, he was in pictures of just like hunting trips and hunting on horseback and hunting and, bears and caribou and moose. And he would show all the animals he had killed and all the hunts he'd gone on and the fishing. And as a kid, at that time, I was really, really into that stuff. And I was enamored by it. I was like, man, I gotta do this. This is amazing. So that was the reason for the trip up there.
So when you guys get up there, what is that like now that you're living in that environment? Is there a settling in period?
Definitely it was a shock. I mean, when we got there, when our feet hit the ground, it was, only my brother have I told this before too. And it was just, when our feet hit the ground, I was like, holy shit, what did I get myself into? I mean, I'm 15,
right.
I have lifelong friends left. I have 0 friends here, and my feet hit the ground, and we're way outside of town. I mean, we're still in the city limits, but we're on the edge of town. So just, there's no walking into town. I know 0 people. And then, I think like maybe 2 or 3, 4 weeks, my brother got a job and he was gone. And then it was just me.
Is this still like the summertime before school started?
It's summertime. So yeah, no, I didn't know anyone.
Right.
No TV. My dad didn't have a TV at the time, and just a radio. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah, the radio was the only thing. And then, he of course, when I got there, he gave me a bow and arrow, and we had a bale of hay out in the backyard, and I learned to shoot a bow pretty good. I'd fling arrows, and then I'd break them, and then get me new ones, and I'd have to refletch them, and just working on my bow skills, and then we'd go out in the middle of the woods and stomp shoot and things like that. So that's what I really did, like all that first summer before I went to school. So it was I remember like being long and boring. So, no TV to watch at all.
I mean, that is rough. So what was the biggest town that someone would recognize? Like how far away from like the city? Yeah, that
Yeah,
you guys
Kenai.
went.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the Kenai Peninsula. So there's a
So
town of Kenai. Yeah.
Like where is that in Alaska?
You'd say South Central is what you'd say. So they would say Anchorage is South Central, but there's a peninsula that comes down there, and Kenai's down there towards the end. Yeah, so the Kenai Peninsula was about, I think Kenai had like 3,500 people in it. And it was like a Twin Cities area, I would say. It's like, there's like Kenai and Soldotna. So they're really close cities. So when I went to school there was 3 high schools. There's only 2 high schools now, but at the time there was a brand new high school, Skyview, and I went to Kenai, and so it's a good little place to grow up. I thought, small town living, much smaller than Southern California, you can imagine.
So once you get settled in, and then you start planning excursions.
Yeah, the first year, moose hunting, obviously moose season, it's August the 10th. So right before, right around school starts, we went out moose hunting, got my first moose.
And at that time, like, did you take it back, skin it?
Oh man, it was 3 days, because my dad at that point, most people take their animal to a butcher and have it butchered. Not my dad, and he eats everything. So everything, heart, liver, everything. So there was a lot of butchering, and so it was like 3 days of just, we came home, we hung it for a few days, but then after that we got to work on it, and it was a lot of work. So they're a big animal. They're definitely a big animal, and it's for people in Alaska. The moose it's winter meat. It's subsistence. It's the way of life that they live on that stuff all year long. So if you get a moose, and maybe you're a commercial fisherman or you have fish, you'll trade. If you have a ton of salmon or halibut, you'll trade for the moose meat and just kind of swap it around, which is kind of nice. If you don't have access, or you get a moose and someone else doesn't. It's just a lot of meat. It's a lot.
So as you're having, like, what did that taste like? Were you at the first time having that again?
I'm not a huge moose fan at all.
Yeah.
Like whitetail deer.
Does it taste gamey?
It tastes, yeah, really. My dad thinks it's the best, though. He thinks it's the best meat on the planet, and he's had a lot. So, but I beg to differ. So, yeah, it was a lot of work, and I didn't really care for the taste of it. And hamburger and chili, and we had a lot of that. That's, it tasted fine,
yeah,
because you're grinding it up. But like, as for the, all the other parts of it, no, definitely not the entrails.
Right.
I don't need entrails.
So that first hunting experience, right? You go out, you get a moose, which, that's like on the top of pretty much everybody's, right? That hunts in the United States. And very few of us ever even get to take a shot at something like that. Did you realize at that time, like,
no.
Dude, I just got a legit big game, mark on my scorecard.
And then that time, I thought that was just like the beginning of a long.
He's shooting these every week, right?
My dad's a huge hunter.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what drove him to Alaska, is hunting and fishing. That guy that's all he ever wants to do, even to this day. It's all he thinks about, all he wants to do. So it's great to have that kind of passion. I don't think that me and my brother have that same type of passion, especially as getting older. It's just a lot of work.
Right.
That's
it's a lot of work.
But it's a lot of work. Yeah. I think the first trip that we went on, kind of going and what to expect. The first trip, my dad booked this trip to go to Kodiak Island, which was the northernmost island of Kodiak. It's called Shuyak. We were going to go for 2 weeks. We were going to fish commercially for halibut and then go deer hunting at the same time.
Dude,
we were going to live on the boat. But I look back at that, and I'd never been on the ocean in my life. I had been on the ocean a little bit, during that summer, but nothing too crazy. So my dad doesn't really know if I get seasick or not, but he's just planned a 2-week. And now people either get seasick or they don't get seasick.
No, you're right. There's no in between. I feel like you're either all in on either one.
Yeah, and you really can't tough it out. You can't just say suck it up and just, So that was probably one of the craziest experiences that I had. It was right out of the gate.
And how did you do? Are you a seasick person, or did you do pretty good?
I did okay. I got a little seasick as we got out into the real big ocean, but I did okay. I don't really get seasick unless it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God I lucked out on that.
So how far out do you guys go?
Well, that one,
is this a full blown, like, you're out there for?
Yeah, if you look at the map, we left out of Kenai, and then we went down the inlet, which is pretty calm at most of the time, and it was calm then. Then we went past Homer, and then we break out into the main ocean, and then we get to Kodiak. But going through that was like the most, like, I guess 15-year-old kid could try to play his poker face. It
Right.
was the most crazy story that I had. You know, I'm sitting there in the boat and we're getting in there. At this point, they're probably like 8 to 10 foot swells. So not that big, you know,
Like that, not that big,
but still,
not that big.
it's big and it's banging the boat. Like it's just crashing the boat. And so
Yeah.
we're going, and I'd fallen asleep, and then I woke up like 2 feet off the bunk and then just slammed down the bunk. My dad's like, "Hey, come up to the wheelhouse. This is where you need to be.
Mhm.
Look at the horizon. It'll help you from, you know, you won't get seasick."
Mm-hmm.
So I came up there, I sat down, and just hours of just pounding and pounding, and the boat's roaring and just up and down. And the guy's name was George Connor, and he, you know, he had a fishing permit and everything. Is one of my dad's good friends, and we're just going, and it's just pounding. And I'm thinking, dude, this is like we're gonna go over. And on the radio came this Mayday, Mayday, Mayday call, like, you know, Mayday, 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 and I can hear it but it's loud. It's like it's the hum of the engine.
Right.
It's crashing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting there like my hand on the old shit handle and just getting pounded. And this Mayday, 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 you know, giving coordinates. We're going down, and I'm 15, so I'm like I don't know. I'm trying to be cool, so I'm looking at George, looking at the plotter, looking at George, looking at, you know, and then listening to the radio, and he kind of messes with the radar a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go help these people
Mhm.
because they're in trouble.
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, how's this going to go? Like I was told that I was told that if I go into the water, like I have like 30 seconds to live. Like it's over. Like you do not get in that water. And then when I was going through that, and then I was thinking like, we're going to go over there, and this went on and on and on. I kept hearing these Mayday, Mayday,
Right.
Mayday. And then they were relaying the message to the Coast Guard, which is in Kodiak.
Mhm.
And so I just hear it on the radio, and everyone's there's a lot of chatter, and I'm thinking, and then finally after about,
Does George say, "Hey,
he doesn't
let's
say
go"?
anything.
So he's just continuing course.
He's continuing
Straight
course, we're not
ahead.
moving. But he had played with the plotter, you know, at the radar thing.
Mhm.
But as a 15-year-old kid, you just got this burning question. You just can't. And you're like, but how do you ask this question to this
Right.
grown man who just seems unfazed?
Yep.
So anyways, I was like, excuse me, because I just met this guy, right?
Mhm.
Excuse me, are we gonna go help? And he goes, no, we would never make it in time. They'll be gone by that time.
Mm.
You know, he goes, the Coast Guard's on their way, but they're about an hour out. And I'm like, an hour? And I'm thinking, okay, my dad told me I'm gonna be like 30 seconds if I go in the water, and not to go in the water, and you're telling me that the Coast Guard's going. And so he's like, well, you know, kind of going through all that stuff, but it was a big shock at that point in my life when I realized we are on our own.
Right. Yeah, like Alaska is not the local watering hole
Yeah,
that if I fall in, you know, I can just walk right
You
out.
call someone,
Yeah.
right? And then 10 minutes later they come by and then pluck you out of the world,
Right.
you know. But no, it was definitely eye opening. Probably one of the earliest memories, very, you know, seared into my memory. Like he was just like matter of fact, like
Yeah.
there's just no way we would make it. Like
Mhm.
he goes, we're doing 8 knots. You know, they're 17 miles away. By the time we get there, the Coast Guard's already going to be there,
Right.
and I was like, but they're going to be swimming at that point. And he's like, yeah, they're going to be swimming. I'm like, I looked at my dad. I'm like, this is serious.
That's a great welcome to Alaska moment. I feel like as a 15-year-old,
Yeah.
how, you know, being at that age too, you probably realize like, oh fuck, like this is not.
Yeah, don't play with this.
Don't play with this.
And my dad had prepped me mentally for that. Like he just as dads do, they're constantly talking to you. But I think as a punk 15-year-old, you're thinking, you know, 80% of what he's doing is just to try to scare you. That it's not really that, you know, it's not that important. But I realized real quick that it was
Right.
super important, and that like we would have to self-rescue, and the dinghy would have to come out. We'd all have to get in the life raft. Like that would all have
And
to
then
happen.
navigate the 10-foot swells while you're in this dinghy, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking we're in the ocean, open ocean. This is the first time I've never seen land. Like I'm looking out and there's no land to be seen, and I'm going, like, which way do you swim? So, anyways, it was one of the best trips right out of the gate. But it
Yeah.
was
So
also
then when you guys get out there, is it just? I mean, I just feel when you're in Alaska, there's just wildlife everywhere.
we got super lucky. So he had a quota, so he was allowed so much poundage of halibut. So we went out there, and in the 2 sets that we made, we limited out. We got super lucky. So I had a pretty easy job. All I had to do was drag the fish that they were taking out the long line and drag them into the hole and put them on ice, right? And then if they were too big, they were shooting them with a gun. So they came over the board, But the little ones, the size of this table, they wouldn't shoot. And then here's me, getting whipped around. I'm trying to grab this fish by the tail and drag him. And I'm just, trying to get him in the hole. And that was my job. So, yeah.
I like that. The little one's the size of the boat, right? Again, being in Southern California my whole life, that's little.
Yeah, they're big.
Yeah. Like it was like the size of the table. They just wouldn't, but then they were shooting the big ones. So,
I mean, James, really, I've never heard that. This is
they're
the first
leaning
time
over
in
the
my
boat
life I've
and they're
ever heard
shooting
that.
him with a basically a pistol.
Yeah.
Like a
And
22?
It was a 38 is what it was,
Oh,
but it was a pretty, and so it was this bang. And then, and my job was to drag him off. And so that was,
So you do the fishing, then you guys go deer hunting.
yeah. So we had to butcher most of the, halibut and get them on ice. And then we went to the tender and offloaded those. So we were able to then go hunting. And we hunted for over a week. I think we each had like three deer we could get. And so we would take the dinghy ashore every day, and then we would just walk around the island that was uninhabited.
I mean, it's just full of deer.
There was quite a bit of deer. And then, and of course it's, the Kodiak brown bear is there too. So that's where, and my dad had I think a 300. I think George has a 375, and I had a 30-06. So basically for bear, it's basically a 22. So I rubbed the finish off my gun, the little horn that, your hand goes, I rubbed it, and it was completely gone by the end of the trip because I was nervous and I just kept twisting my hand on it and rubbed the finish off the gun. So I got the easy job. They cleaned all the deer, and my job was to be on bear watch. So I'd have to stand, kind of away from where they were working, but then kind of at a vantage point to kind of see and I didn't know if I was lucky or if I was just like the sacrificial lamb that was just set out there to.
Yeah. Look at the scrawny kid.
Yeah.
And for anyone listening, right? What is the protocol when there are bears in the area? Like, how do you approach that?
Well, they call the gunshot the dinner bell, right? So they're like, well, when you shoot, some bears they realize that something may have gotten killed, and they'll come and try to, possibly take it from you. That never happened. I actually never saw a bear on that trip. We saw a lot of sign, a lot of like scatter, shit in the woods. And there's a bear shit in the woods. Yeah, he shits in the woods. So we saw a lot of sign, and then we would leave. Like sometimes we would leave like a gutted deer on the side of the trail because we would keep hunting. And I'm just thinking, my pea brain, I'm like, that's not a good idea. We had to come back to this kill site and get this deer. But like I said, nothing happened. We got, super lucky. And in my mind, because I didn't really want to see a bear at that point in my life. And we saw some tracks, and they were pretty big. But of course, it's yelling that in your ear, like, be diligent. And
well, I remember when we were hiking in Yosemite, this is probably 4 years now. And James, he would always be in the front. And so we're just kind of like walking. We're probably like 100 feet spread out, and there was a moment there, though, James spotted a bear. And right away, I remember you saying, if there's a cub here and we're between the cub and the mom, you know what I mean? Like you immediately, I remember identifying.
Yeah, the bear was kind of small. It may have been a full grown bear for California terms, but it was off and away. It was about maybe 150 yards out.
Yeah.
And I just saw it, sitting on the log, and it looked kind of juvenile to me. So I'm like, that could be a juvenile bear, and no telling where mom's at. Until I see mom, I don't know. So yeah, that gets a little.
And he was totally calm. He's like, hey guys, let's just get together, right? Like let's kind of, shorten up this tail, and you've had,
we had some bear spray on us. I don't think you were supposed to carry that into Yosemite, but I guess one of those dad things that better be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Right.
Yeah, I'd rather be alive, I think, at that point. So yeah.
So you have this amazing trip. You're 15. That's a trip of 99% of our lifetimes. You do this amazing fishing trip. You're pulling out halibut bigger than this table. You go hunting. Did you guys all get your limit?
We all got our
okay,
limit.
right. So 9 deer, right? And this is why I came. Like
this is life. Life is normal life,
right?
And it kind of, in a lot of ways, it is kind of normal life. I mean, that's kind of like the lifestyle in Alaska for Alaska residents. I don't know. I think it was like my junior year or something. I think I went camping for 3 days, and of course, in those days, there's no phones, nothing. And I just showed back up to my house thinking, oh man, I'm going to be skinned alive. And I remember unpacking the truck, and my dad's like, hey, where you been? He's like, wow, you got all that gear dirty. It was just tents and sleeping bags and stuff. And I was like, man, I thought he was going to kill me. He just kind of shrugged, and off to the shop he went. And I was like,
So he was probably stoked. Like you guys come up and you're actually living the life in Alaska. Like you're doing these things that
he kind of knew everyone in the small town. So, I mean, sometimes I would come home and from a shenanigan and he would already know about it. So I don't, to this day, I don't know how he knew.
Yeah.
A lot of times with the places I'd been in the middle of the night, four-wheeling behind the airport or something like that, getting the truck muddy, and he'd know that I was there. I don't know if cops were telling him, I don't know. But small town kids doing small town things, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe he knew more than I thought he knew.
He probably did, right? And I'm sure you're right. That small town people see you and your friends, right? And it's kind of like just kind of gets back to who it needs to get back to.
Yeah, I think I remember my mom came up like the first winter. She came up for Christmas, and it was just probably 2 feet of snow on the ground, and it was snowing sideways. And friends came over, and I was like, "Well, I'm leaving." My mom was like, "Dude, it is like that's more snow than I've ever seen in my life." And I'm like, I mean, it's a lot of snow, but we don't have 4-wheel drive, so like, when we got enough chains and straps unless we all get stuck. So my mom I remember her being sideways about that, going, "No, you're not going." And I remember going, "I think I'm still gonna go."
When you're in that environment, it's just totally normal.
Yeah, no snow days in Alaska for sure. Like the buses always run.
Dang.
Like there's no snow days. If it's cold, if it's snow on the ground, the buses will run.
It's funny, like we haven't done a ton of these shows, but every time we talk to somebody and they come in and are sharing their experiences with something, you really do realize that everybody has accumulated a set of experiences that make you the person you are today.
Right.
And your threshold for driving in the snow or dealing with adverse weather is way higher than those that have been in Southern California their whole life.
Right.
So this just goes to prove that you should not shy away from experiences. You
Right.
need to, the more you experience, the more solid of a person you're going to be.
Yeah, I always say risk is relative. Some crazy madmen I've known in my life, and it's relative. So what you think is risky, other person's like, this is just a day in the life. Like speaking of Mark, a fireman and what he's seen every day. And, if I had to run into a fire, I think I don't know that I'd be able to do that, day in and day out. So yeah.
But I think you've always had a calmness to you. And again, we're not getting all the things we've done. There's never been this crazy experience. But I was telling Mike that you're just always super calm. Because again, you've been out driving in 7 feet of snow in a blizzard, right?
Wow, and it's blowing sideways. You can't see anything. And you don't know if you're trusting the guy in front of you because you're like, I'm kind of following those taillights, but I hope I'm not following those taillights into a ditch.
Dude, that's such a good point. There's always that. You are following the dude ahead of you.
You hope he's better than you.
Yeah, or at least equal. It's just like, let's keep going down the road. Like,
yeah. So you get up there, you have that first year, right? You have some great trips. You're doing with your dad, you meet some buddies, you're starting to do things. And then that second rung, right, of exploration of Alaska that you experienced, right?
A lot of it really is like in the Kenai Peninsula, there's just moose hunting, really. I mean, there is some caribou hunting, but it's all by permit. It's a drawing that you put in for. Really hard to get because the herd's not very big there. We had gotten into a herd up north, like kind of halfway between Anchorage and Fairbanks.
What's the size difference between caribou and moose?
Probably by half, if not more. Okay. Yeah, caribou is a good size. I mean, it's a reindeer, right? It's
Gotcha.
Santa's reindeer, is what a caribou is technically. So, and they're pretty good. I like caribou. I like elk too, but
yeah, I mean, when we went on our trip to Yellowstone, and that was the first time I'd ever had elk. Amazing, like it was off the charts. Now, if I ever see it on the menu,
yeah,
I get like
down.
Like, remember we split the tomahawk, dude? Fucking, what was that?
It was good.
It was just massive.
I think we ate elk like 3 days
right.
straight.
I mean,
in a
it
row.
was just so good because I'm like, damn, we don't get this opportunity. So
That bison,
yeah,
a bison burger or something is, yeah.
The thing I love, the stories you tell me about your dad is that comment. He said, hey, you might be packing too much, but he didn't say, hey, bring it over here. Let's unpack it. He just kind of throws the comment out, but like, hey, I'm going to let you experience that.
Yeah, I think that's the dad's superpower. Like, I don't know, do they just live for the I told you so? Or is it just like the unspoken I told you so? And you're just left to wonder?
Well, at some point when you're a teenager, right, like you don't want to hear your dad give you the correction. Right. And I think successful fathers, we will throw out the warning, hey, that doesn't look like a good idea. And if your kid's interested, he'll ask why, but usually they're just going to blow you off. And as a dad, you think, you'll learn.
I mean, Mike's son just started driving, so he's
yeah.
any like near misses yet, or that you know about?
Not in his car, but there was a learning curve with my truck. But thankfully he's learned, and he made
Yeah.
mistakes and bumped into things, and
Right.
I mean, it's just I can't get upset. Like this is
Right.
this is how you learn.
Yeah.
And thankfully he didn't catch me on a day where I
Mhm.
was pissed off about something else, and I took it out on him, and he
Right.
came to me in a panic, and oh my gosh, Dad, I bumped into a pole, and he was frantic because he's like, I messed up your truck. And so we went out and looked. I was like, oh yeah, you messed it up pretty good. And I was like, did you do it on purpose? He's like, no. I was like, well, what did we learn? And let's talk about what you did. And I think he was kind of taken back that I didn't get really upset. And I was
Mhm.
like, hey, this is the kind of thing that's going to happen. And I'm glad nobody got hurt and you didn't mess up Mom's car. Like I got an old beat up truck anyway. So
Right.
if there's going to be something that gets a dent, better my truck than anybody
Yeah.
else's. So
And you need to crack another beer too. Like, just go get it. Come on.
well, he's got to pace himself with the 805. Right.
That's
Right.
dude. That was that was good right there.
I didn't know I was allowed. Yeah.
That was good. You got to pace yourself with 805s.
You see how I just blew by that? I just blew out.
You did. You're
I mean,
like,
if it's
no.
Coors Lights, he knows the limit, right? But you change it up, and it's like, well, hold on,
Yeah.
let me do the math.
Is that a change up?
It is.
Okay. All right. No, the only reason I don't drink Coors Light again because it tastes like a watered down apple juice. Otherwise,
Well, your
I would.
your
right?
taste is all
I
jacked
know.
up
It sucks.
anyways.
Yeah, you
Trust
said
me,
you
I
got-
am not Mr. like IPA guy for a reason. The first 7 years the guy knew me, I was drinking like Shock Tops and Blue Moons and Sam Adams and 805s, right? It's just,
So had you not gotten COVID, you'd be like on Trulies and
Oh wow. See, I won't. I won't
never
do
that.
I won't
Never
do
that.
that.
Yeah, never that.
No?
Never.
Never had
Not one
those.
time ever.
I know how to make a vodka and soda.
Right.
Like, I don't need to go buy it in a can.
That's what I was telling Mike. I'm like, James can drink Coors Lights, but I've seen the guy put down like 9 margaritas in a night, 9 Jack and Cokes in a night. So,
That's our superpower.
right, you have that. And then hit the bell at 7 a.m. in the morning. I'm
it's a
like,
good superpower.
I don't know. These days, it's not as easy as it once was.
So
but when, yeah.
we're gonna go sidebar here, talking about the Trulies and stuff.
Mhm.
So the guy that owns the brew supply store that I go to,
Yeah.
his wife was getting big into like whatever they are, hard seltzers, and she's spending all this money on hard seltzer, and he's like, dude, this is ridiculous. So he went and got a couple bottles of vodka and Crystal Light, mixed up Crystal Light and vodka, threw it in a keg, carbonated it, put it in the kegerator, and she had essentially her
Wow.
her hard seltzer on tap. He's like, for nothing. It was like I made 5 gallons for like $20.
Yeah.
Well, that was ingenious how you put it in a keg, though. That's
Yeah.
special. He's
that's
got
the
some
deal.
skills.
Yeah. So Mike is a home brewer and he makes an 805. The thing I love about there's just
It's a little richer.
a little extra,
It's
a little richer.
It's a
little
blonde ale
richer.
and it's a little richer.
Yeah.
It's the 805 recipe, but it
Yeah.
comes out a little different.
But again, the way he makes it seem is like it's so easy. Anybody could do it. And
No.
I'm like, no, exactly. That's my
No.
point. And so we did a podcast, which is me and him. I interviewed him about home brewing. And even after, okay, so I've seen him actually do it. I've been to his house while he's doing it, interviewing the guy for 2 hours. Right. I'm no closer. I still think, and he's like, oh yeah, for $500, you can buy all the equipment to do it.
Way less than that.
Right.
What?
That's my point. Exactly, James. I just don't.
Like I said, if you can make spaghetti, you can brew your own beer. It's
Like,
follow
do
a
you
recipe.
believe that? Okay, how about this? Next time you're going to do a batch.
I will put
James
it
and
out
I
to
will go over.
everybody that's
Okay.
on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll
Just
go
go
over
on.
because I really want to.
Okay.
I
I have
feel
to
like I
see
need to
that.
see it again. But he did a great Oktoberfest. You know how I was super into Itachino? He found the recipe and he duplicated it again, 96%, just like it. But
So if you ever get a kegerator, we can hook you up in beer, but I refuse to make Coors Light. So
you go 805, dude. You can have
but
805 on
805,
tap.
yeah, that's
I
our
mean,
house. We always have 805.
Yeah.
Yeah, 805 is probably, I don't know, I like it probably the second most.
Yeah,
Has
no,
some
it's,
flavor.
it's a
Yeah,
great
it's
beer. Like
easy to
that's
drink.
such,
Yeah.
that is such a great just go to because it's a little bit more than like Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light. But you're right. You're not at this IPA level where you're drinking 7-8%.
It's the crowd pleaser.
All
Sorry for
right.
the detour.
So I think, did you ever do any, this is like offline. Did you ever do any like trips where you really did get out there into like rivers or kayaking or?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of water sports, believe it or not, because there's a lot of water there.
Mm.
So jet skiing, my brother had a jet ski, so we wrecked that as much as we could.
Out in the ocean?
No, not in the ocean, but we like the lakes and stuff. And
Mm.
in the summer, and we'd wakeboard behind the jet ski. He had a big one, so
Damn.
pulled a wakeboard.
Like a
It wouldn't-
stand up or was it a,
It was a sit down.
yeah.
Yeah, buddy had a stand up, so we'd all go to. There's a lake in Wasilla, which is north of Anchorage, which was like in the middle of town. We'd go there because it'd be fairly warm. It'd be one of the warmer lakes around
Yeah.
because it was not so deep. And we go out there and jet ski. You could just jet ski right there in town.
I feel like that statement only happens in Alaska. There was a lake in the middle of town that everybody went to. Is there another city in the anywhere that can say that?
I don't know. There's a lot of lakes in Alaska.
So one of our big topics that we wanted to talk about having you here is everybody wants to go to Alaska. And I feel like 99% of us, me included, right? I want to go there. It's you take the cruise ship up and there's a couple ports and you get off and you go do some things and you come back. So we wanted to really dive into, if I want to go up there for 7, 8, 9 days, typical like of what we've done some excursions in the past. So a couple families, 4, 6 kids, they're anywhere from 8 to 14. And I want to lay out that 8 to 10 day trip, right?
Yeah, if it was a family trip with kids that, I think probably what I would say is RV. I'd say RV for sure. I mean,
would you fly into Anchorage? Is that like
you could take the cruise up from, you could take the cruise up from the lower 48 or from, Bellingham or whatever. Come up the inside passage. You can get off in Seward. You can take the train to Anchorage, get off, rent a RV if you want, and then go from there. So a lot of people will do that. But you don't have to. You could fly into Anchorage, rent an RV, and then travel around. I think the reason why I say the RV is because there's a lot of remote places that you want to get to, and there's not a lot of hotels. And then you're constantly packing up and unpacking all the time. Like you'll spend that most of the time doing that, but in an RV you won't. You're on the go, and there's not going to be a McDonald's every day, so you can pull off the side of the road, make some food, go for a little hike, come back, take a nap, especially if you have other kids that just want to kind of milly-mally around. They don't want to be in the car a lot. So yeah, RV I'd say would be the backbone of any land travel if I wasn't going on the train. Like some people do the train. I've heard it's really scenic. You upgrade your ticket and there's a glass top. You can do that. That's super cool. But that's kind of what we would call armchair. Like you're just kind of sitting there looking out at something. So we're all going to be there at some point, but I think you want your kids to go touch and feel and do.
Dude, I think that's such a great point. Cause I wouldn't have thought about the RV, right? I would have said, oh, well, yeah, we're going to fly into Anchorage and just kind of stay there and then do some excursions. So, and then I'm sure there's a bunch of campsites, right? You just kind of plot out what you want to do and then excursions out of the different areas.
Or not campsites. You just
that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've never really tried to RV in the lower 48 and like what you can do and where you can stop. I mean, I know like the Walmart parking lots and things like that, but in Alaska, it's very common. You just see an RV parked in a, in gravel, parking lot by a lake, and that's it. You just park there and you could just camp and as long as you want. And I remember when I was a kid, I worked at Fred Meyer's, which is a grocery store, but it also has like apparel and stuff.
Yeah.
I was bagging groceries and pushing carts through the snow, and there was like an RV dump station that people could bring their RVs and they would dump their black water and gray water tanks in there. So that was a big pull. But then of course they would come in and shop because they were on their way between like Homer and going to Seward. And this one was like in Soldotna, like it was the last store before you went to the pass. So people would naturally stop and gear up and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, how many grocery stores do you know that have like an RV dump station in the back of the parking lot?
I do not know.
That there's like a line.
Right. So when we get up there, right? So we go up there, right? Let's say our families are going, we have the RVs, which I think is amazing. I love that. Can we also get excursions? Can we sign up? Like, are there tours that we can also get out of these certain areas?
There's a lot of guide services out of just Anchorage alone, because some people come up and for business or what have you, and then they'll do different excursion. There's a float plane airport, which is by the main airport by Ted Stevens, but you can take the float planes from there, and then they can take you to different places, and they can land on the water. The whole point of a float plane. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I think it's just the internet's made things so awesome now. You get to see pictures of these different places and what you want to do and how entrenched you want to get into it. But I think wherever you go, you can get involved in, whether it be bear viewing, if it were to be fishing, or just sightseeing, around Denali, fly around Denali. There's tons of stuff like that. But I think the RV is good because you can get out and like go camp.
I love that.
There's a Klutna Lake. It's a huge lake, and you can rent like kayaks and stuff. So you don't have to bring all that stuff with you, because that's the other part is when you go to Alaska, you're bringing a ton of gear. But that's one thing you can't really bring as a kayak. But you can rent those things and do that. But there's a ton of excursions depending upon what you want to do and what you want to see, and then of course the skill level and what your kids want to get involved in.
Yeah. So if we're in that like 8 to 14 age range, I mean, what are some of the things you have to do, right? Again, you have some littles that might not be, they can only do so much. And what are some of those just like, you have to do this?
You're going to probably come out of Anchorage, I guess, thinking out loud, you're going to come out of Anchorage. I guess that's the other thing too, is like you want them to blow off steam, right? You want those kids to move, because if they don't move, they're gonna get fussy. You got to keep them interested.
Totally.
There's a lot of like little things, like there's little lakes and stuff they can go kayaking, paddleboarding on, where you can rent those things. The Klutna Lake would be one of
It's
them.
like a little day rental, like pop in there,
right? And there's a lot of little hikes and stuff. There's Potter's Marsh in South Anchorage. You can go. It's like marshlands, a lot of wildlife, but there's a ton of hiking around. Definitely go down the Turnagain Arm, where you can see, depending upon the time of the year, maybe beluga whales on their migration. So you can get good pictures and sightseeing. I would definitely recommend pretty much everyone buying a decent pair of binoculars, I'd say, so they have them. They're fun to play with, and you can look at things. But there's a lot of things off the road. I think that RV really would help you get to a lot of different places, whether you went south down to the peninsula, or you went down to, like, you can go to Hope, you can go to Girdwood, which is where the ski town's at, which Alaska's at. You can go through the tunnel to Whittier, which kind of puts you on the other side of the mountain, which brings you over into the Prince William Sound area. And you can take charters out of there. My buddy has a good friend of his that's what he does, is he does kayak tours. And so he just has boats that's constantly coming and going with kayakers all throughout the Sound. They go out in those big kayaks and drops them off in the morning, picks them up at night, that kind of thing. So there's services out there that are just like that. So there's tons of stuff you can get involved in. Obviously, you're going to have to, you got to employ like a Rachel, my wife, to like really do the research and pack your day full of stuff.
She is going to be a guest. I already told Mike, like, I would love to have her in as a guest just for that.
Yeah, her planning is amazing.
Yeah, she planned every single day. It was insane.
Yeah, from morning till night. And
right.
So those mornings started early.
Yeah, and we would always have a negotiation the night before. So we'd be out there sitting, I'm having 2 or 3, 4 of these, and Rachel's like, all right, well, we're going to be out at 6:20 in the morning. I'm like, dude, Rachel, no, like that's we can't do 6:20. Like, can we at least 7 a.m.? Right. I try to get.
Yeah, that we were always thankful that we did it about noon. We would come around the corner about noon.
100%.
But in the morning it was struggle bus.
Right. I would always go to Rachel, dude, thank God you got us out at 6:30, because that's why we're there. Like, not to sleep in and roll out at 11 a.m. And I think that's what's great about you saying the RVs is there is that hanging out, right? At night, you get to a cool spot. You're just, oh my God, we're out in Alaska. Like, we are really out in, even though it might be right outside Anchorage, the lower 48ers are thinking, dude, we're in the outback.
Tons of stuff. I mean, not very far off the beaten path. And that's why I'm saying you don't have to go too far from Anchorage.
So how far is Denali from Anchorage?
It's a bit. It's a haul. It would be a trip to get up there. I don't know, 3 hours maybe north. So it's crazy because you just drive and drive and drive, and it's just.
I feel like we just don't realize how big Alaska is. You're right. It's a great point.
Yeah, 8 hours between Anchorage and Fairbanks.
You're saying I'm going to go for 7 days, and it would be like, hey, I'm going to the United States for 7 days. Right. Like, help me plan a trip so I can see it all.
Yeah,
right. Just not possible.
When Gracie was 2, we went up there. We did the RV thing, and we went south because that's where I was from. And then I always said I would go back and do the northern trip, go through Talkeetna. That's like a cool little town. As you go north, go up towards Denali and see more of that area with the kids. But I think a lot of people go south because there's Homer, there's Seward. Like, for people who want to fish, Dad wants to fish. There's a lot of heritage and a lot of stuff that's there. And a lot of the cruise ships obviously come into those ports.
She had said something earlier where you said in the summertime you guys would go to the lake and you would kayak. And I think most people think Alaska, they think snow and igloos and, Eskimos, because they have no idea. But it sounds like in the summertime is a much different experience than the wintertime.
Yes. Yeah. And It's crazy because obviously the sun, as you know, it's up, depending upon the latitude that you're at. But I mean, it's up for, 20, 21 hours a day for a long time. And that takes a lot of getting used to. And so people really soak up the sun. Like we definitely take the sun in Southern California for granted. I mean, it's sunny here all the time, right? But you get the northern latitudes, like if it's a sunny day, like people are going to call out of work. It's people are going to go and they will rally out and go fishing and they'll have all that stuff ready to go and that's what they'll do. They'll do for sure.
It's like Hawaii, right? When the waves are up in Hawaii, nobody's working, right? It's like, hey, when the sun's out and it's a beautiful day in Alaska, nobody's working.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So what are the prime seasons for someone who would be interested in going to Alaska for the first time?
I mean, I think a lot of it really depends on. I think a lot of it comes down to fishing because a lot of people go up there to go fishing. The dads want to go fishing. Yeah. The Reds, the sockeye, they really run hard in July. I would say that it starts to rain quite a bit in July, and then August it's gonna rain. I like the month of June because the bugs haven't gotten too bad yet. The weather's pretty good. I mean, it's a lot of sunny days. June's always been good to me. Maybe late May, depending upon how much snowpack they have and how much what we call breakup, like just the thawing of everything. Yeah, so I would say early. That's my thing is, especially if you want to go hiking, earlier in the year.
So June, July sounds like the sweet spot.
Yeah,
I feel like get out of school, charge it.
Yeah,
right.
August is pretty good too, but I mean, I don't know. My memories of August are always August the 10th is when moose season opens, and it's if it doesn't rain on the opening day of moose season, I mean, I don't even think it's moose season. I think they just postpone it for the day until it still starts to rain.
And weather in Alaska, like you just got to be prepared for rain and crazy weather. Like
yeah, I would definitely say like you need to bring a rain jacket and some rubber boots. Like
no matter what time you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to rain and it's crazy because it'll rain and then it'll stop raining. I was there last year and it's even knowing that's going to happen, but it'll rain and for 4 hours and then boom, sunshine. And then it's sunny till freaking 10 o'clock at night, and the kids are, you'll see them at like 10, 11 o'clock at night riding their bikes and they're little. And there's like 6, 5-year-old kids out there on the streets just, and it'll rain and they'll all go inside and then get nice and then they're back on the street. So
did that take a while to get used to the whole sun thing? Like, were you out at 11 o'clock at night doing shit?
And it's crazy because the residents, when it's summertime, they're out. They're out fishing the banks, the river until midnight, man. And then it's crazy. And there'll be little kids out there and you're like,
that's so
aren't
cool.
they tired? But no, they're still charging hard. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, if you're tired, you'll sleep.
Well, I know you can sleep anywhere at any time. So I have a lot of photos of like James. I mean,
that's
that guy,
family.
That guy gets off the mountain and he's like, dude, there's a chair. I'm good for like 40 minutes. I'm out.
Yeah, why not?
With the Coors Light in your hand, never drops. It never falls out of his hand.
I've dropped it a few times.
We'll put that in. We'll put that in the episode. I have this great photo of him just conked out at Mammoth. His feet are in a vibrating little. Remember that?
Boot thing.
The vibrating boot, and he has the Coors Light in his hand. He's just having an amazing just nap.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff Pratt, for that thing. I know it's a superpower. My dad has it too.
Same thing.
Sleep anywhere. Yeah.
Did you ever do dog sledding? Was that?
I've never been on a dog sled. I've been.
What do you think about that?
As a tourist, do it.
As a tourist, we're going up.
They do it in the summertime. They'll do like a makeshift thing over the grass and you can ride a dog sled. To me, it would be the same as if it was in the snow. But
do you really have to get out there to get to a dog sled?
No, I think they have a lot of stuff in town sometimes. The Iditarod starts in Anchorage. It technically doesn't start in Anchorage, but they do have they come down Main Street or Fifth Avenue or something like that. They come down there, and that's a big thing.
I wonder if there's like a igloo. There's probably an Igloo Hotel up there, right?
So you have the cruise ship, right? Which is like you said, the armchair tours. Like I still want to sip my margaritas and be able to see a glacier in a distance, right? Then you have I want to take it a step further, and we're going to go get an RV, and we're going to go adventure, and we're going to get as close to things as we want to get. But you have more. It's more on you to figure out exactly what kind of experience you're going to have. And then you have I have more money and time than I know what to do with, so I'm going to stay at an Igloo Hotel just to
Yeah.
say that I could.
That's Cavison in the group, you know. Putting
Am
money.
am I the softie? Am I the guy that's, I don't know.
Well, I don't know that staying in an Igloo Hotel is soft, but I would imagine if you're paying that much money to stay at an Igloo Hotel, it probably is kind of soft.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you got memory foam mattresses and like all
Yeah,
kinds of creepy
right.
comforts.
But yeah, I mean, it. You know, again, more money than time.
I love the idea of the RV.
No,
Super
for
cool
sure.
way to travel, especially when you're traveling with families, because otherwise you go to dinner and then everybody goes back to their room,
Right.
right? So when we've gone to Mammoth, we've rented a big house and everybody's in the house, the kids are playing. And yeah, it might not be the quietest place, it might not be the cleanest place, but you're together and you're hanging out. And I think I know in our group, that's what's really been cool about it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely just a little bit more economical as well, if nothing else. But I think I like it just because it's easier, you know. And you're having to travel, having to wrangle, get everyone out the door to go to dinner. I mean, and there's always a family or a person who's just not quite ready for whatever reason. If you're at home, it's just that much easier,
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the RV thing is I can't say that enough. It was great. We kind of tripped on it on the last trip, and then I got bit by the bug of RVs, and I'm like, oh, I can see why people spend $250,000 on an RV.
We also want to see things, right? We want to get out there, and I love getting into the environment. That's my biggest thing. Be part of the environment for whatever time you're there. And then also be able to schedule events, right? So if we do want to do whatever that event's going to be, kayaking or dog sledding or whatever that is, there's so many companies that will provide those services that we can also book
Yeah.
those well in advance.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean I would say Alaska runs a lot on tourism. I mean, that's where a lot of their revenue comes from. So there's a lot of services out there that are looking to capture that dollar from the tourists that come up. My dad, after I went to college, he married a lady who owned a fur shop. So, like sold finished furs. You know, they didn't trade in unfinished furs, but did finished furs. And in the 70s and 80s and 90s, we had just RV after RV after RV that would come through her place, and the hot item was beaver slippers, like little slippers that you put on your feet, but they were made out of beaver. I don't even know how much they cost, but they were a hot item. We sold out of them all the time. But yeah, it's a big thing. And you take the milepost and you show up, and because they were down this long gravel road, like off the highway.
Wow.
You know, but it had been there since like the 60s. So it was a well-renowned place. Yeah.
I just feel like just exploring Alaska too. It's just the way you're describing it, which I love. It really is like an untamed wilderness. It's still, I don't want to say wild west, but there is still an element there where it's not all gridlocked in. It's not master plan communities. You still get that, man, this is like America maybe 150 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, obviously down there's obviously tons of gravel roads. I mean, you get towards Anchorage and some of the cities, and you'll have neighborhoods and suburban areas, like master plan, I guess, if you would see here. But yeah, there's a lot of just homes in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
and people have just staked their claim, and that's where they're at, which is, again, it's awesome.
So we want to flip it and go to the other side. So I want to take a trip up there with 3 or 4 buddies.
Okay.
And we want to get more extreme, right? Maybe we're avid hikers, we're avid fishermen, and we really want to, hunting and all that in the lower 48. And we want to take that first trip to Alaska, right? So we do want to go beyond what a family would experience. Is that still like flying to Anchorage?
Probably, because you can all meet up there if you're coming from different locations, right? Probably want the cruise. But one of the things you have to figure out is like, what does everyone want to do? Fishing, or do they want to do sightseeing? Do they want to do hiking? Do they want to do rafting? Those types of things. Once you determine that, then the world is your oyster. That's probably where it gets really exciting for different places to go. Depending upon money that you have, I mean, one of the places I'd always want to do is do Katmai, which is across the inlet, going west. From Anchorage, you have to fly across the inlet and go to Katmai National.
What's over there?
Well, it's just untamed. I mean, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of services that run over there, but it's all the brown bear viewing, tons of brown bears, especially if you go towards the end of summer or in the middle to end of summer when all they're doing is feeding on fish. So that's where you get all those photos of, those bears standing in the, 10 or 12 bears. That's probably from Katmai is probably where those photos come from. So a lot of photography people go there. They're into photography. They go over there. Obviously, there's a bunch of rivers if you want to fish, like untamed rivers, if you will. If you want to fish for salmon, the salmon runs, that's usually pretty good across the inlet. So you could do a lot of that stuff to get on like float planes or small planes and go to places like that. You can fly to Kodiak if you want, but I'd probably stay and go to Katmai. That's probably where I'd go.
And that's kind of give you everything that you're hoping.
So that'd be probably the top if you want to, especially for sightseeing, because you're going to sightsee, you can fish. Because that's what the problem is. You're going to have guys that are like, oh, I just want to fish. Like I have friends that are like, I just want to fish from the time I go to the time I leave. Me, at this point in my life, I could kind of take it or leave it. Kind of like what you were saying earlier before we got started was, sometimes you go and you get skunked or it's just, bad weather and you're like, man, I just kind of wasted a day of my trip. I could go do something else. So, yeah. If you want to go rafting, I did raft 6 Mile, which is like south of Anchorage, like on the other side of Turning an Arm. That was pretty wild. It was class 4 rapids. Definitely had to get a guide for that, but that was fun. 6 Mile was crazy. 6 Mile was nuts. If you're into something gnarly, that would be something to do. It's kind of around the Hope area. Like if you come around the Turning an Arm, you kind of start climbing the hill. There's Hope over there. That's kind of really close where the 6 Mile is. It's not very far from the freeway or from the highway there. So.
And then there's some nice amenities, lodges. Again, 3-4 dudes. We want to hang out, have the nice dinners.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of do that.
If you went south, like if you went to just like 6 Mile, you could go down to Princess Lodge, which is down like Cooper Landing area. And you come towards like the Kenai Peninsula as you enter into that. That's a really nice lodge. Great food. You could run, and then from there you could go to Seward if you wanted to fish. There's glaciers down in Seward. You can go see those. Obviously the water there's great. Or if you want to continue down the peninsula, you could do that. But even guys, I would definitely do an RV as well. If nothing else too, if you're like, hey, well, you guys want to go to Homer for the day and go halibut fishing, okay, knock yourself out. We'll see you on the flip side. We're going to go raft 6 Mile or whatever. Or we'll meet you in Soldotna or whatever the case may be. So that's another reason to kind of be mobile and have like kind of spread the herd, if you will.
Yeah,
not everyone's going to agree, especially guys. And everyone's got their own ideas of what they want to do.
Well, James, I think that's a great point because as we were saying, if you were coming to the United States for 7 days and you can't see all the United States, right? So if we're going to Alaska, which is so massive and there's a million different things, and I have a 7 to 10 day window, how you just explained. I mean, if I want to go salmon fishing, that could be 3 days.
Yeah.
A day to get there, a day to fish, you stay the night, a day to get back, right? So I think the planning is a critical part of any trip.
I definitely do think, like, now that you said it, like the divide and conquer, putting up camp, breaking down camp, cleaning all the fish. I mean, I don't need you to help me clean the fish, but I can't clean, if I'm cleaning the fish and you're setting the camp up, getting dinner going, perfect, right? Like I'm getting messy. Let's get it done here. So that's what I think would be the economies there to just break it down like that.
Yeah, well, how do you get the fish home too, right?
Yeah,
like you all living out on your fish. Like you can't eat that much fish, and you sure don't want that in the RV, right? So it's got to be frozen,
filleted up,
packed, and then boxed, so you can either put it on the plane with you as a check bag or shipped home.
Right.
And that logistics should be figured out before you put your hook in the water.
Yeah, there's services that will do like the gel packs and stuff for the, all the outfitters. For fish, we'll do the 50-pound box. They'll do that for you. But sometimes you can just say, hey, I'll give you my 50 pounds. Give me another 50 pounds because it's frozen ice block.
Right.
And this is fresh.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I don't really care.
Right.
So you're taking that back into town, and then that's where they're.
Well, yeah, you take it back into town, and then so you just have to rent a cooler. Like that's where the racket is the RVs will, the RV places, they'll rent lawn chairs, they'll rent coolers, they'll rent fishing poles. You can definitely rent those things from the RV places, and they can be like $30 a day or something, or $10 a day for a cooler, which just sounds great, but you're like, yeah, but 3 days I can just go to Walmart. Well, we rented our RV from, like, literally, it was a stone's throw to the Walmart Supercenter. So we just cruised over there. I'm like, just give me an hour.
Right.
I'm going to run through Walmart and get everything we need and just load the RV up. You can almost just buy those foldy chairs from Walmart. And you're like, yeah, $10 a piece. And you're like, that's just part of
it's going to last 7 days.
Yeah. I just want to get what I want, and I don't have to worry about if I break it or I don't really have to. Yeah. Yeah, there's the one place we did RV from and was it's on Old Seward in South Anchorage. But I remember the big claim to fame on the reviews when we went was that you don't have to clean up. You can pay an extra fee. I think it was like extra $60. And then they'll wash the dishes and you just take out the trash.
Wow.
Like, and they have a dumpster there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because the other places are like, I guess that was some bad reviews of like, yeah, I had to come in there and then spend 2 hours cleaning up all the stuff. which if you've been in a family in some place for a week, it's dirty, you know, and things need to be cleaned. And so that was nice because I'm like, I just, you know, because you want to come and you want to get to the airport because you got things to do, right? So that was one thing that was a huge benefit with that particular place. I forget the name of it, but yeah, that's one of the things I would look for is make sure that you have like a quick exit. I might not want to pay for things, but you know, in the heat of the battle, I just want to, I'm running late to the airport or whatever.
Right.
So
Yeah, like my brother famously says, when you're on vacation, you just keep swiping. At that point, you know, hey, we've been in this thing for 7, 8, 9 days. You know what? If $60, $100,
right.
Where do I swipe?
Well, the other thing too, like, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we're grown men, you know, we go to Vegas and things like that. And you're like, wait a minute, I just spent Vegas, you know, $15 drinks and stuff. You're like, yeah, if I'm drinking, I can buy a bottle of vodka or something or a bottle of whiskey and have that in your campsite. It'll last you the whole week, you know? So if you had to buy a lawn chair or a cooler for $40, $50.
So what are some fails that people can do? So again, they're going up to Alaska. What are some mistakes that people make that just cause a lot of headache and that can be avoided?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think one of the biggest things that you have to avoid is like you said, it's a huge state. You've got to be mindful of logistics. You've got to be mindful of the time in transit. And I think it's even exacerbated when you have children. You know,
you don't need to fly into Anchorage and then drive 1,000 miles to get to some.
Right.
You can see that exact same.
Yeah, something very similar. I mean, again, another thing too, like what the gripe about going to Denali is you go to Denali, everyone wants to see the top of Denali, right? I've driven by Denali a handful of times, and I think I've seen it like twice. So it's just weathered in all the time.
Right.
So, and then same thing with people take the plane ride. Like a lot of times out of Talkeetna or something, they'll say, hey, well, you know, can't really see it today because it's all clouded over. So, yeah, but be mindful of the logistics. I think that's probably the biggest fail. Second, equally, it'd be just not being prepared and not being willing to stand out while it's raining to look at something, like to look at a glacier or to take a hike. You're like, oh, it's raining. Especially with Alaska, like it'll rain for 2 hours or maybe it'll rain for a half hour and then it's done. And then it's just moved on. But then 2 hours later, it might rain again. So again, probably having the right gear, because that mantra of like, there's no bad weather, it's just bad gear. Right. Just bring some gear. You don't have to go crazy, but I mean, everyone, even South Coast Plaza has a North Face store. Like just get a nice jacket. Definitely get some shoes I would probably go just rubber boots, you know, because you can knock the mud off them real quick if you had to. You can take them off, and versus like a Gore-Tex shoe gets muddy. It's going to be hard to clean off, and then you won't really care. So you can get the
So you're saying my Converse All-Stars won't work?
Yeah, the
kids in their Ugg boots isn't probably going to be the best.
Dude, don't get me started on Uggs. Dude,
they're great inside the cabin.
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, my Uggs got wet. I'm like, so you basically wore a slipper outside. She's like, she just looks at me. I'm like, you have no defense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably, I'd say just a rubber boot. You know, there's the extra tough boot that everyone wears. And it comes in all sizes, shapes, and sizes. Now they have a shorty extra tough now. Those little brown deck boots.
Oh wow,
those are the best. That's when you know you're in Alaska if you just have like an extra tough. So you'd want to get those to fit in because then you know,
right?
They won't.
They think we're local.
You won't be called the Chichaco. That's the year.
Like the Howley.
Yeah, the Howley. Yeah, the Howley.
Yeah, I always wonder that. Like I always think that like when we go to all these new places, how much of a sore thumb do we stick out?
Do we scream tourist?
It's like when people come here though, right? Like I've been here my whole life, right? If I'm down at the beach, yeah, you know who the tourists are. It's just, you know, it is what it is. And
just own it. Don't be a poser and try and fit in. Like,
yeah,
just own it.
You're right. That's almost worse.
Go in bright eyed and hey, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Help me out.
Well, a lot of times too, people are more gracious too, right? Like people are like, hey, you're just, you know, you're new, and as long as you're not doing something totally bonehead stupid. I don't know. Maybe it's the Turon.
But if you don't know, right? You need to realize you don't know and maybe ask or hire someone that does.
Right.
You want to go see a bear? Find someone that can take you to where the bears are and is familiar and understands what the rules of engagement should be. Right. Like money well spent. You're going to have a much better experience. You're going to get the great picture that you're hoping for and you're guaranteed success. Well, not guaranteed, but
you see, yeah.
A lot more guaranteed than if you think you're just going to go stumble around and get the perfect shot.
I agree with that 1,000%. I mean, I'm like into like, I'm open water certified for diving, but every time I go to like Cabo or something, I always pay for a dive master to go with me. And every time they say, you're certified, you don't need me to go with you. And I'm like, I know, but I want to see cool shit. Like I want to like focus on the experience and not worry about like how long was I down, how long do I up, you know, and like where am I going? Like I've been to places and dove on my own, and you go down and you're like, well, my tank was all screwed up, and I couldn't get the air there. My regulator, I didn't know how much I'd been down, and then you don't see anything, you know.
Vacationing as a dad or vacationing with the guys. It's
Right.
the same, right? I'm paying the guide to be the dad,
Yeah.
do all the hard work and take all the stress. I just want to be along for the ride and have a good
Right.
time.
Yeah, I just
Dude,
wanna
that's
see,
such
yeah.
a good point.
Yeah, just again, it extra a little bit, but you're already there,
Mhm.
you know. So again, like with the guides, like speaking of Alaska, I mean, yeah, especially if you're going like fishing or if you want to go get onto some bears, I mean, you can get onto some, you might trip onto some possibly, but you know, be more efficient, especially if you're thinking about like a clustered amount of time, get in and get out. Yeah, it's money well spent.
So James, You Should podcast. Why should every person go to Alaska?
You just got to do it once in your life. I mean, it doesn't matter what you want to do, whether it's if you want to go fishing, if you want to go hiking, if you whatever you want to do, if you just want to just to look at it, you've got to go. It's that grand, and it's the topography, the landscape is unlike any place else you've ever been. Like you just it's new. It's I definitely would encourage everyone to go to Alaska, and you can see it. Don't be intimidated by like, well, you know how rugged it may be or how crazy. Yes, it can be, but if you're older, my uncle before he passed, he went to Alaska, and that was one of his big things that he wanted to do because he heard of all of our stories. But by the time he got around to doing it, he ended up taking the cruise and he took the train, so he was able to see a lot of it, you know, and then did a little excursion. So whatever your enthusiasm, you can get into something that will be memorable. You know, it's not like it's not one size fits all. So yeah, any time of year, there's always things to do, but obviously the summertime is the one because it's the most, you know, a warm summer day is like 60 degrees. So you know, you're going to be wearing a jacket with all of us lower 48ers.
I love that so much. James, thanks for coming in. You were amazing. I want to plan a trip right now. I want to go to Alaska, and we truly appreciate your time and coming in and really explaining from someone that lived in Alaska. This is how to experience it in an amazing way. So we really thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, let's book it. Let's get it.
Let's do it. Next share.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You won't to twist my arm.
No, hey,
You know?
thanks everybody for listening. So we'll see you next time.